Now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Paul. Welcome, everybody, to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, in tonight for Bob Pompiani. Quite a bit to get to. We will start with the most recent news, obviously, to talk about, and that would be the Pittsburgh Pirates on a 9-game winning streak, their hottest streak of the year, and they're basically left with questions now. There are questions of, can this keep going? Is this streak sustainable? What do they do moving forward? What happens in the next 9 days before the non-waiver trade deadline? These are all questions that are now surfacing because the Pirates have won 9 games in a row. And in a week when, going into their most recent homestand, and Neil Huntington talked about how they had the final 8 games before the All-Star break and how they couldn't afford to go 4-4. Well, then they go and just rattle off a bunch of wins in a row. Made that a little bit more obsolete, but then they come out of that. They start the second half, or the unofficial second half, on a good note. And they go in and they thump the Reds 27-5 on the road in Cincinnati, which is a place that they haven't always done well. That's something that sticks out, that they actually do it on the road as opposed to at home. Now, they've had struggles at home as well, but to go on the road and win a series on the road, it's always going to look good regardless of who you're playing. That's something that sticks out. So now you have that, but then they're going to Cleveland. They got to face an AL Cy Young winner in Corey Kluber tomorrow night. That's going to be a tough draw, because not only do they have Kluber, you also have a pretty good offense with some guys that can put the ball out of the yard pretty easily. You're talking about guys like Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez. These guys are popping off home runs left and right in Cleveland. This is a pretty potent offense. So the one thing that does stick out going into this series is that if they're going to have any chance of trying to take a game or two of this series, or God forbid even looking at a sweep, it's pitching to make it work. The good news is, one of the things that's been working for this team is the starting pitching. Another good start from Ivan Nova. Jamison Tyone is the guy that got the ball rolling going into the weekend. Nick Kingham kept it going. Ivan Nova going into today, he carried the ball today. So now you got to go into the next 2 guys in the rotation, Trevor Williams, Joe Musgrove, and then back around to Jamison Tyone. So you have the opportunity with 2 guys, especially in Musgrove and Tyone, who on most nights can go out and really try to compete or match a pitcher, at least a better pitcher, inning for inning if you can. Trevor Williams may be more of a guy, you might have to limit the damage a little bit more, and you need enough offense, just enough offense to keep you in it. And Trevor Williams will try to do enough just to keep you in the game. Not really a shutdown, stopping a losing streak type of guy. But at least you have 2 pitchers in Musgrove and Tyone that can go out there and at least compete well enough to help you win games. That's something you look at, and you have to really look at that as maybe the focal point of the next couple days. How well can the starting pitching hold up? How well can this offense hold up? Yeah, they lit up the Reds. They lit up the Brewers in the 5 games that they swept the Brewers. That happened. But can they keep it going against a team like Cleveland that has such good starting pitching? Guys like Kluber and guys like Trevor Bauer and Carrasco, they have guys that can throw and pitch pretty well. So that changes that dynamic as well. But it does help when you have guys like Starling Marte, Gregory Polanco, Corey Dickerson, your whole outfield all hot at the same time. And then some other guys that are chipping in secondarily. Josh Bell starting around into form. Not hitting a lot for power, but getting on base, is hitting a lot better for average. Corey Dickerson hitting a lot better for average, and he's starting to show some power as well. Elias Diaz is a guy who I think continues to be pretty impressive, even though he doesn't get mentioned a lot. And for Francisco Cervelli, and the couple times he's been on the disabled list, Elias Diaz has done a pretty good job, and it doesn't get mentioned a lot. But I think he's also a pretty important factor in all of this as well. And you talk about what you're seeing from this team and how all these guys are contributing. There are times, sometimes there are small pockets in the season when everything will fall into place, whether it's the pitching from the starters, the pitching from the bullpen, the offense, maybe even the defense. But all those things sometimes do come into place altogether. And that's what we're seeing right now. So I can see why people are hopeful for that. But I can also see why people are skeptical, because you look at 5 games that preceded this run when the Pirates were, I think it was 14-31 in that stretch before they went into that homestand where they faced the Brewers and then faced the Reds. That's something that might deter some people, because you look at it as though every time we turned around, it seems like something else was going wrong, whether the offense kind of disappeared, the starting pitching wasn't going well, the bullpen was falling apart. So it seems like everything else has stabilized for the time being. But how long will it stay that way? And have we seen enough in the past 2 weeks? And will we see enough in the next 9 days to prompt Neil Huntington to decide what he's going to do? I talked about this last night. The Pirates have about a week and a half to state their intentions as to what they plan to do as far as contending for the postseason. Are they going to be a team in the thick of it? As it stands right now, they're 4 games out of the second wild card spot. So as far as the math is concerned, they're still mathematically alive, and they're closer to within striking distance than people probably anticipated 2 weeks ago. But what happens in the next week and a half? Does it stay that way? That's the thing that probably sticks out. Steelers 3 days away from training camp. Of course, one of the big topics throughout the week was Le'Veon Bell, his contract situation. Now they have to look forward to going into camp. He's not expected to be there. So now you have to look towards other guys, other options. Guys like James Conner are going to get some work. Fitzgerald Toussaint's going to get some work. A guy like Jalen Samuels, whom they drafted to come in and be kind of a Swiss Army knife and do a lot of different things. Not on the level that Le'Veon Bell does, but if he's a guy that can contribute here and there, do different things, he's going to have that opportunity to learn some things. Now, here's the question moving into that. Now I ask this question. What areas do you feel better about with this team going into this season? What areas do you feel not so good about? 412-575-2600. Give us a call on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Also, shoot me a tweet at Josh Taylor HD. We'll talk about those things and more when we come back. Stick around. Actually, you know what? Before we take that break, just a reminder here. Later on in the show, we will feature the Roos Chris sizzling shot with a high five to a local golfer who shot a hole-in-one. The sizzling shot brought to you by Roos Chris at 6 PPG Place downtown, home of the sizzling steak done right. Be back here in a few.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.